Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Bashrat Din from Zumzum Limited. Thank you very much for joining this webinar this morning. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedules. We hope you'll find it both interesting and productive. I'll be your host for the webinar this morning, and I'll be joined by a colleague from Google Enterprise called Johan. Johan Sharon is Territory Manager for UK and Ireland with Google Enterprise team. Say good morning, Johan.
Good morning, everyone, and good morning, Bash. Glad to
Thank
be here.
Thank you, Johan. So just some housekeeping for the comfort of all attendees. Please do put your microphones on mute just to block out some background noise. For those of you who have not yet discovered the chat window in your WebEx client, you'll notice a small chat window. And what I'd like you to do is, as you think of questions during the webinar, please type those in the chat window and send them to myself. And what we'll be able to do is review those and provide you some answers at the Q&A at the end of the session. And post the webinar, we will be sharing a recording with you, and I'll send that to you via email. And it will also be posted online on our website as well, so you can refer to that later on, and obviously share that with any colleagues that you think may benefit from.
Here is
Tim.
So the plan for this morning, post the introductions, I'm going to hand over to Johan, who's going to express the Google vision for the enterprise. Of course, Google are extremely well known for their consumer products and, of course, their search engine and advertising business that requires no introduction. Although I think it's very important to introduce where Google are heading with their solutions for the enterprise. So Johan's going to take a short while to introduce us to that. And then what I'll do is present a short overview of the Google Apps suite of products, which will dovetail nicely into a live demonstration of the most relevant Google Apps features. Of course, we're only going to be scratching the surface of this very broad set of applications that's extremely feature-rich, and new features are being added almost on a daily basis. So hopefully that will whet your appetite enough to take a closer look at Google Apps. We'll also give some advice in terms of the next step and how to really begin your journey to cloud-based computing powered by Google Apps. And then finally, we'll have a Q&A session at the end that we'll cover any questions that have not been answered during the presentation. So a little bit about Zumzum. I'll allow you to read the slide. We're one of the original Google Apps authorized resellers in the UK. Since Google have targeted the enterprise, Google have been developing a reseller channel. Like most vendors, they recognize that providing the technology, whether it's on-premise or in the cloud, requires end users need assistance from resellers that are capable of providing a range of professional services in component-based. So depending on your resources internally, your skills and your time frames, you may decide to choose one or all of these services from, how well suited is Google to your business from an application point of view, to implementation, migration, and change management, as well as ongoing managed services around those environments. So we focus specifically on the small and medium business sector with in excess of 100 successful projects executed on migrations to Google Apps. And as if Google requires any introduction, of course it's one of the best-known brands in the world, and more recently, of course, it's a new word that's been added into the Oxford English Dictionary. Just Google it. So if you mention the brand to Google, a lot of people immediately think of the search engine business, which obviously is at the core of Google, and that technology is built on Google's capability to build and run mission-critical systems. Now, the fact here that I found most interesting when first looking at Google is that Google is the fourth largest server manufacturer in the world. Although they do not ship or sell servers to any enterprise, behind the usual suspects of Dell and HP and IBM, Google manufactures more servers than anybody else in the world. Now, those servers are only ever built to go into the Google data centers, which means there's hundreds of thousands of identical servers in data centers all over the world. And information, particularly if you move your data onto Google, is being replicated across all of those servers and all of those data centers real-time, transparently. So that multi-tenant model, the system was built from day one as a cloud computing model, so the rest of us have the benefit of leveraging Google's expertise in building, managing, and maintaining data centers, and that capacity and capability is growing all the time. So when you compare Google's ability to run data centers with everybody else, then it's probably 100% better than world class. Now, businesses all over the world are already trusting their enterprise data to Google, and last count, there are 4 million businesses that have moved their email and applications to the Google Apps Suite, and this number is growing by about 5,000 businesses on a daily basis. So clearly quite a lot of momentum behind the move to Google Apps. One of those customers that you may have seen on there, just as an example of the drivers behind moving to cloud computing and Google Apps, is Land Rover, Jaguar Land Rover, that migrated 14,500 employees to Google Apps. This figure's more like 18,000 employees now. Moved all of their data away from Microsoft Exchange, terabytes and terabytes of data, and successfully reduced their cost by millions of pounds. Now, of course, in the small business world, traditionally, we've never been able to afford the same kind of technology that tier one companies like Jaguar Land Rover and the other brands that we saw on the slide have implemented. Cloud computing and Google Apps changes the game. It really is a leveler. It means that whether I want 1, 10, 100, 1,000, or 14,500, we're all going to be using the same applications for Google Apps. So an extremely fair and democratic model. So all of us can, of course, reduce our IT expenditure and increase our productivity by moving to Google Apps.
Okay, so I'm going to talk a little about the Google Vision now. So the idea why I'm talking about the Google Vision is because Google Apps is a product by itself, but it's also a whole part of Google, the company itself. And as a part of the company, we have a vision for where we want to go, and which is a vision which is only a part of the global strategy of the company. And so Google Apps makes sense in the way we are developing Google as a company in several ways. And the first thing I wanted to share with you is for Google, we identified 4 different aspects of a business in general, and on those 4 aspects, we want to be a part of it and try to help business moving forward on those aspects. The first one is innovation. Innovation is something really critical for our company and for every company, and we want to be able to build products and services which helps you to innovate easily and in a better way and a quicker way. The second one is collaboration, which is correlated to innovation, because collaboration and Google Apps is a lot about collaboration. We've made some study because we wanted to know exactly in terms of number what it represents. And collaboration and innovation is really, really close. And the more you can allow your company to collaborate with other internally and everything, and the more you will be able to innovate quickly. So collaboration is a key, and Google Apps answer a lot of things you can wonder about collaboration. Then the third one is social. Social simply because we realized in the last 3-4 years that social aspect of the product, IT product, is not only for personal life or friends and things like that. It's also into the business. Like we just received this morning an email internally for Google that we were allowed since this morning to tell people that in the next days or weeks, maximum 3 weeks, Google Plus, which is the social network of Google, will be available for businesses also, which is a huge step for Google Apps, because it's included into Google Apps as a new functionalities, because we see that a social network, internal social network for a company, is also a way to communicate in a more efficient way, and it's where all the company wants to, are going anyway. So providing this product is a way to help you to build and to understand your social environment into your company. And the last one is the mobility. The mobility, we kind of are all aware of now the many devices we have, like laptop, cell phone, smartphone, tablets, like everything. We are mobile. We need many devices, and for us, it's critical in a company to be able to provide a service like the Google Apps service, which allow you to be mobile without being stuck into one place with one device. So those are the 4 things which are the core of Google in general, and Google Apps answer those 4 criteria in terms of the service we are providing. Then we have the inhibitor. It's when we built Google Apps, we built it to help company being able not to have what we call inhibitor in their day-to-day task at work. The first one is the architecture, the technical architecture. We've made a study showing that 80% of the money you're spending in your IT environment is what we call dead money. It's not changing anything. It's just the maintenance. It's just keeping the servers alive. It's updating, patching, everything. That is 80% of the money for company. We want this to be over. We want to be able to provide something you don't have when you have Google Apps. You don't have to think about your architecture in terms of IT. You just have a service which is working. You have an easy way to manage the whole administration thing. But you don't have server, you don't have a room, you don't have electricity, you don't have problem if you have no more electricity, or if you have a cable which is cut, or all those things. It's over. So the architecture is really important. The second one is productivity. I would say productivity is related to the collaboration part and the innovation part. But you'll probably see that in the demo. But the productivity is increased by the new way we try to manage documents, for example, or email. Then we have the interface. Google is pretty much famous for the simple interface it has on all of its products. It has to be easy to use by everyone without being trained. We can see that even on google.com. You just go on google.com and there is nothing except the logo and the search bar. So we try to make our product easy, accessible for everyone, and it's something which is driving the way we are making our product evolving. And the last one is the device-centric, which is related to the mobility part. We don't want you to be stuck into one computer, and if your computer is stolen, broken, or anything, you will lose all your data, except if you have like a backup which is somewhere else. Like for me, the way I'm working, if my computer is broken, I'm just taking another computer. Everything is on the cloud. There is nothing on my computer, so it's definitely not a problem. And if I'm forgetting my computer for a travel, I just have my phone, my mobile phone, and I just go check my email, check my document, being able to answer everyone, still having my contact, all my contact details, and the list of my customer and everyone in there. Just not being stuck with a device is something critical for us. So the next slide, Bash. So yeah, on this slide, it's more like the Google Apps itself. It's a product which is unique on the market, and there is 3 reasons for that. The first one is because Google is a company which is web native. The company is only 12 years old. When we were born, everything was already on the web, and we grow as a company being web native. The second part is because we have, that's the personality of Google. We have an enormous scale, like Bash said, with the server that we are building. We have servers and infrastructure everywhere, and we are able to cover and duplicate all the data easily to be sure not to lose anything and having the best security possible. And the last one is the engineer excellence. Google has 25,000, 30,000 employees. Half of them are engineers. Engineering work, like jobs, are the core of the company. And for us, being able to provide a service which is reliable, secure, and evolving all the time, because we have more than 500 engineers working all the time only on Google Apps, is important. So the reliability, the availability of SLA, the launching of new product, like for example the Google Plus product for business, which is a new one. It's important for us to make this product evolve all the time. Yeah, you can just, so and the last one, I know Bash will talk a little bit about that also, but this is more to show you why Google Apps is included into the whole Google strategy. Google strategy for businesses. We have Chrome, which is a brother. We have Chrome OS, which is with the Chromebook, the new computer without any desktop. We have Android, which is for mobile. So those different services we're providing are all cloud related, and the Google Apps, the apps that you can develop by yourself and add to Google Apps, and the third-party apps. Bash will talk about the marketplace, but it's like you have the Google Apps, and then you can add some functionalities that exist and that have been developed by third-party apps. You can plug that to your service as Google Apps and having more functionalities. And the whole of everything is cloud-related, and it's for you not to manage anything, but for all your data and everything to be on the cloud and accessible from everywhere all the time and with any device. That's the global Google vision for businesses, where we think businesses will be in the next 5 to 10 years.
Superb. Thank you very much, Johan. And let's just move on to a quick overview of the Google Apps suite of products. The three important things to think about here, although we are talking about moving to the cloud, we do realize that many organizations have an investment with on-premise infrastructure. So the Google Apps Suite comes with a range of adapters and connectors that allow you to link to your existing infrastructure, for example, your user directory, so you can carry on using the tools you have in place while moving part of your applications into the cloud. There will, of course, be certain users or certain applications that will require a PC-based client, or basically Microsoft Outlook on the desktop, whether that's user resistance or whether it's legacy applications that are only capable of communicating to PC-based clients. You will still have the choice of whether you go to the web browser, which we believe is the superior experience, or whether you use Microsoft Outlook, or indeed whether you use applications on other clients as well. So although we talked about Android, then of course, there are clients for BlackBerry, as well as natively syncing other mobile devices using the ActiveSync technology. One of the myths surrounding Google and the Google Apps for Business Suite is quite often we hear the question, how will I contact Google if the system fails? And the aspects to that is that in the first half of this year so far, Google has achieved a 99.99% availability on the Google Apps Suite. But if there is a small outage affecting 0.001% of the customer base, then that's going to make huge press. But the Google Apps for Business Suite comes with a 99.99% service level availability. Unlike competitors, that does not include any downtime. Google doesn't have a concept of scheduled maintenance. There is no such thing in the system. It's architected in such a way that upgrades are rolled out transparently, and because of the scale of the data centers, then of course users shouldn't see any occasions when there is no availability. The system also comes with 24/7 phone support. So directly in your Google Apps control panel in the dashboard, you're able to access online and telephone support services to contact Google, all for a very modest and reasonable fee of £33 per user per annum. So turning traditional capital expenditure into an operating expenditure. There are some add-ons there. You'll see the brand at the bottom, the Google Postini services. If you wish to add a compliance archive, then there's a couple of choices for modules to add, either a 1-year or a 10-year archiving service. So the whole suite, and as I said, the demo is going to only really scratch the surface of some of this capability. The whole suite comprises a range of applications, starting from Gmail, which I believe and we believe is the most superior experience as far as email is concerned for business users. It's the same email that's been used by 150 million consumers, so extremely well tested and reliable. And this originally was obviously called Gmail for Business, so it's using that same infrastructure, the same wonderful features, but with your own domain name. And built into that are functions like instant messaging and voice and video communications, the type of functions that consumers are using on a day-to-day basis, and will allow you to reduce your email traffic by, of course, communicating and collaborating in real time rather than sending more emails. Using Google Groups to allow you to share documents, events, calendar events, and information with groups that you can create yourself in a private manner. Google Calendar, everything you would expect from a powerful calendaring and scheduling service. Google Documents. Quite often users get hooked by the power of Gmail and then discover that Google Docs is an alternative to your traditional PC-based office automation tools. And again, this product allows you to create content inside the browser and access it from anywhere rather than being tied to a physical machine. Of course, we don't believe that Office is going to go away, i.e. the Microsoft Office suite. There will be certain power users that will require functions that are unique to perhaps Excel or Microsoft Word, and Google provide a tool called Google Cloud Connect for Microsoft Office, and it allows users to continue to use Microsoft Office on the desktop and use the Google infrastructure in the background as a mechanism for syncing and collaborating. And this is beating Microsoft. This is bringing real-time collaboration to the legacy products of Microsoft Office. So a great set of functions there. Allowing users to build and deploy your own websites, whether they're internal websites, project sites, or customer or supplier-facing websites, so internal or external, ad hoc websites, as easy to build as if you're using a word processor. And Google also owns the YouTube network, and leveraging that technology, Google provides for Google Apps for Business users a feature called Google Video, which allows you to create, store, and share your own video content inside your private network. So that's unlike YouTube. It's not available on the public network. Nobody externally with an external ID is able to access that. Only internal users are able to access that. And as we said, the Postini suite included in the subscription is a very powerful perimeter defense system for spam and antivirus that allows you to control inbound and outbound email content. Now, of course, Google will focus on what it does best in building the Google Apps for Business suite. There will always be additional functions or capabilities that are not included in the core suite, and one is able to shop the marketplace. Just as consumers now shop marketplaces on their mobile device to find applications, whether they're for fun or to resolve serious issues, the Google Apps Marketplace for Business is full of business applications that are designed to enhance the capabilities of the standard Google Apps Suite, and of course bring more than just improving your Google Apps Suite, a whole set of applications that can be focused on accounting or CRM or project management. So once you've moved your email and collaboration to the cloud, of course you will get the bug and you will wonder what other on-premise applications can you replace with cloud-based applications, and you're able to install a new application from the Google Apps Marketplace within about 4 clicks. So forget the legacy traditional IT model of shipping you servers and software and consultants to come and install that. Literally, you can shop the marketplace, and within about 4 clicks, you can have a new application installed and ready to go that can resolve particular point solutions. You know, it may not be as broad as CRM. It might only be timesheets or expenses or any other small to extremely large functions that you wish to add around your Google Apps application. So we're going to show you some of that functionality now. As I said, we're just going to literally be scraping the surface of this. Let's move over to a sample Google Apps for Business Mailbox. Anybody who's used Gmail before, you'll recognize this as the traditional Gmail interface. The subtle difference being here, of course, we're going to be using our own domain name to send and receive email. So We've branded this with our own logo, so once you migrate, of course, to get some brand recognition, you would add your own business logo to the Gmail interface. Very clean and powerful, and as Johan pointed out, Google's had a number of different awards for the ease of use and the power of its user interface built on web-based technology. So designed ground up to be based on the web. On the left-hand side, of course, we're going to see our system labels, and I'll touch on this one here for chats in a moment, as well as custom labels. I deliberately use the phrase labels, which you should consider as an alternative to folders, and we'll touch on that on a moment, the difference between how to use labels and folders. And of course, I've added a couple of additional gadgets here in my user interface, because I want to be able to have a quick view of my calendar, or perhaps quickly view documents that are stored in the Google Docs storage interface. So I think of this quite often as my portal. This is the way into our Google Apps Suite. Top left-hand corner, you'll see a menu, a set of options that allow you to access your various standard Google applications. And here, any applications that we've installed from the marketplace are available under the More option. And of course, what that means is supporting single sign-on is that if I wanted a more powerful task management application, once you're signed into your Google Apps Suite of products, then immediately I'm taken into the other applications without having to log in again. So the integration offers single sign-on. So these apps become available to users, and you control which users. We're not going to concentrate on the control panel this morning for administrators, but an administrator would decide which applications are visible for which set of users. On the right-hand side, now this is usually over here on the left-hand side, I have my chat window, and we're going to use that in a moment, so I can see real-time who's online and can communicate with any of those through instant messaging or voice or video calls if I really wanted to. Now, my personal experience of moving away from a PC-based mail client to using Google Apps, one of the things I found super powerful is searching inside the Gmail interface or all the Google applications, because all the data that's loaded into the Google system is indexed for the reason that you can then quickly and easily search it. So if I wanted to just do a search on a key phrase, I'm looking for messages from a user called Bash. Let's maybe take an example here. You'll see highlighted in the body is wherever the phrase matches. I've now got some content back, so I can very quickly search for results. And if you go to the help system, you'll find a bunch of advanced search operators, or indeed just click the option to get more granular in your search results, whether it's from a sender or a recipient or a date or even a time frame that you want to search for mails for. So actually, the old paradigm of create, file, and find is broken. Clearly, it didn't work in my PC world. I spent a huge amount of time, obviously, searching for emails. If I do wish to use the folder structure, of course, you can see here on the left-hand side that I can still have a folder, and all those emails tagged with the label demo are available to me. So if I want to diligently store those files, I can do. However, what I'm tending to do now is when I'm looking at content in my user interface, I can simply select that email and go archive. It's not gone away anywhere. It simply just moves to an all mail folder out of my visible inbox. What you'll notice in this interface is that, of course, these emails here have numbers associated to them. This is going to be one of those features that you absolutely love or hate. And when looking at this message, I can see that with this subject title, there are actually 3 messages that are grouped together in a conversation view. I find that a huge productivity gain. It allows me to read the most recent email first. And of course, if I want to see all associated emails, I can expand those in one click and very quickly come up to speed from the earliest to the most recent, and if I then want to reply, I can reply to this email straight from the conversation. So the conversation view, some users like to switch that off, which you can do in Gmail. Others find that a huge productivity gain and find that you're reading less emails. And obviously, whenever a new email comes in with this subject line, it will appear in my inbox and all the historical emails will come together as well. I love the fact that when attachments arrive inside of an email, this happens to be a document that's sent to me that's been loaded to a Google Doc, I can simply click a button and the document opens up in a browser. You'll notice that we're actually looking at the Excel file here, and we'll go on and look at the types of files that you can store in Google Docs, which is any kind of file type, and I can now view and see and comment on that file without having to actually leave the browser. So when Johan referred to Google Chromebooks, the idea of working 100% inside the browser, there's actually no reason for me to download that data to my desktop. And of course, I can work through all of those messages there. Now, you'll notice that I'm actually using labels to identify emails. And the great thing about these labels is that a single email can be tagged with multiple labels. So in the old paradigm of a folder structure, one email could only exist in one folder. The challenge was trying to remember where I stored that. You know, did I store it under bash? Did I store it under demo? Did I store it under the supplier name, the customer name? Because I may obviously want to search for that email from different directions. And this is what I'm doing here is, of course, looking at this email and saying, how will I want to remember that in the future? I'm going to remember that by tagging it. And I can simply tag it with, obviously, a hierarchical folder structure or simply flat folder structures here. And I might want to create a new label. Let's just create a new one called Webinar 1 and create that. And now I've added this label here, and it will appear on my list of labels on the left-hand side. And, of course, I might want to add it a little color there as well, so it becomes a visual alert. Now, of course, when I go to that label, all emails in that label with Webinar 1 are visible. So I can now really have one copy of the email and tag it with multiple labels and find it in many different ways. Recovering those emails and being productive, it's a lot easier than the traditional folder model. Of course, it may be better to automatically tag these emails. So rather than having to do that manually, what I'm able to do, again, is if I look at this email here, I might decide that I want to use this feature called filters. And based on, similar to the search criteria, based on various different criteria, let's just say on this email address, it may well be the subject line or has the words or content in there. I'm going to apply a label to this, and let's apply the label that we've just created called webinar. And here at the bottom, you'll notice that it also finds previous conversations that match this criteria. So using filters, I can automatically process inbound email, whether I wanted to delete it automatically or never have it sent to spam or automatically mark it. But on this occasion, I want those emails to be automatically tagged with that particular label. So whenever I receive them, and I can go to my inbox, and all those emails that I start getting from that particular user, all of a sudden I get a visual alert in my inbox. So very easy to recognize important emails in your inbox. Now, there are occasions where I'll receive an email, and of course, looking directly in that email, I really like this feature here. You'll see the social gadget from Google on the right-hand side here, a little plugin about profiles and information about a colleague. I can see that this particular user is online, so I may not want to send an email. If this is a short response or an important question, I might decide to reply to that individual by chat rather than via email. And of course, on the left-hand side here, we store chats in the Google interface, just like the way that we store email conversations. And in fact, all of them are grouped together. You can see a chain of emails here that then have reverted to a chat conversation, and they're all grouped together, so a complete history of that conversation. Of course, I might decide here on the left-hand side, if we move on to Google Talk, that I can see Johan's online, and I can send a little message to Johan. How are you fixed for a VC? And not only can we do instant messaging, but of course, I might decide that a voice conversation or video conversation is more appropriate. We're just going to pop this out. Hey, morning, Johan.
Hey. How are you?
Very good. And you?
Yeah, I have the echo. You from the computer and he's here. I'm good.
Okay, good to see you. I'm going to terminate that so you won't have an echo in your ear anymore.
Okay.
Have a good day.
You too.
Bye-bye. And as simple as that, we're able to, now the Google innovation, of course, instant messaging, voice and video is not unique in itself, but the Google innovation here is you'll notice that all of that happened inside the browser without leaving the browser session. So it's a small plugin that gets installed in the browser session, and literally you're no longer tied to a PC anymore. You can move to any device where you have your Google Chat client directly in your browser and do voice and video communications directly in the browser. If I wanted to, then, of course, I can access any of the other applications from any browser as well. So as you would expect, I probably want to have a look at my calendar, and depending on what version of your PC application you've been using, this particular view, I really like the fact that, of course, it has overlay mode. I can switch off various users' calendar as well. I can have my calendars or shared calendars. So when looking at my calendar, I might decide, as the demo user, I can see what I'm up to, but maybe I'd like to just compare that to see what Flash is up to. And I can see those in overlay mode as well. And I might want to check if the WebEx service is available or booked or not. And you can find and collaborate by simply adding in other users' calendars. Let's just test Pete, and all of a sudden we've now added in yet another calendar for Peter Whiteman, and I can see his in a different color. So very easy to use, all the tools that you'd expect, and from a powerful calendaring service. There's even innovation here that if I wanted to have lunch with Pete on Saturday at 1 p.m., just quickly throw that in, and the calendar automatically works out where it should go in my schedule. So again, not taking calendars for granted, all of the powerful things, but super easy that I can then go off, and if I wanted to, I could share this calendar. Whether I'm embedding that in a website, creating a calendar for a project, whether it's our external website, internal website, or whether I want to share that out with colleagues or collaborators on the outside world as well. So even pushing that data out to various different users. Again, one of the links I have available directly from my Gmail interface is my Google Docs environment. So after moving all of your email to the cloud, all of a sudden you realize that you're able to load up any kind of file type with a storage limit of 1 GB into your Google Docs. So we're here now looking at our Google Docs list. You'll notice that there are various different icons. Again, it works on the same kind of folder structure here. So if I wanted to take that content and simply tag it, it's now tagged with budget, and we might also want to put that into the demo folder as well. So a file can have more than one kind of label on it as well, which is in this world called collections. Any kind of file type is supported, and again, play that directly in the browser. We're looking at an example here of a video, and if I wanted to share that out, in the top right-hand corner, there's a button that I can click, and I can share that with various different users. Obviously, I can see which users have got access to that already. If I wanted to share this now with a particular user in our domain, it's being auto-suggested from my address book, and I can decide whether that user can edit or view this document. I may want to associate a little message with that as well. Here is your video, and then simply click share and save, and that user has now been added to the collaboration list. Of course, in the future, if I want to change my mind, I can simply deselect that user, and they no longer have access to that file. So, of course, one can share individual files or, more likely, folders. Again, wherever you see that dialogue, you'll see the same interface that allows you to share information, and rather than sharing individual files in that folder, I'm now going to give a user access to the whole folder structure and everything contained within that folder the user will have access to. You'll see the Excel icon. That's the file that we looked at this morning, which is an Excel file inside the browser, various different types. There's obviously image, Word documents, PowerPoint documents. So you don't need to convert the document to the Google file format just to have it online and share it. That means you can still then have that accessible from your mobile device, your smartphone, your tablet, or any other browser interface, and simply view those directly inside the browser. And a recent feature addition, you can see that I've got an archive file here, which is a zip file. I click a button and I can see the contents of that zip file directly inside my browser. And this list of supported file types is growing all the time. And again, when I receive those files, I now just load them up. I shared an example of this with a customer the other day who's, I sent a zip file or a RAW file and said, no, do I now have to download that software? And I said, nope, what I'm going to do is I'll load it up directly into Google Docs. I'll send you the link and you can see the content directly inside the browser. So making life a lot easier there. Of course, the main reason that you will want to convert documents to a browser-based version. So here's an example of a spreadsheet, and in this spreadsheet, I can start off with an Excel file and I can convert it, or I can start with a file and work on it in real time. I might want to invite a colleague and say, please can you open the file?
Yep.
And look at that document and collaborate on the document in real time. So all of a sudden, I've now got a notification that Johan has joined, and I can see here in the top right-hand corner, there is another, and we could chat directly in the window, and please update your actuals, and request that the user changes some data. And of course, I can see where Johan is actually editing that document in real time. This is the same whether it's a spreadsheet, a word processing document, or a presentation. No more sending documents backwards and forwards, and you can see that the user is changing content and data directly in the spreadsheet, and I can see him working, and of course I can change figures here as well. And both of us are seeing the exact real-time version. You can see all changes saved immediately. No more lost data, no more sending and receiving versions of files backwards and forwards, and then forgetting what is the current up-to-date version. And of course, that document there, if I choose to, I can download that as a CSV file, as a PDF. If I have to send this to an external user who's not using Google Documents, of course, I can still download it as an Excel format. So the system takes care of converting from one format to another. If there's any questions about what's been changed, then of course I can immediately see the revision history. I can see who's changed what at what time and when, and if I really wanted to revert back to an older version, I can revert to an older version. So import your files into Google Docs and leave them in the native format, and share those out, or of course convert them to the Google file format and work on those in real time as well. So that's the Google Document Suite. Extremely powerful, potentially has the ability to knock out Microsoft Office and reduce the cost of deploying Office to your average everyday user. More importantly, your content is now available to you 24/7 in the palm of your hand if you access that from your mobile device. Finally, I'm just going to touch on the power of Google Sites. I can create a site with a few clicks of a button and give it a name, let's call it Webinar 1, and decide whether I want that site to be published externally, internally, or I'm going to make it completely private at this stage, and click a button and I have a new Google site available, all hosted on the Google infrastructure. I've got a new website. I can actually edit that page and say, welcome to our new site, and insert all of that content that we've been creating and loading, whether it's images or calendars or charts or those Google documents, images from Google Picasa, spreadsheets, presentations. So this is a wonderful way of bringing together all of your data for a project or for a customer or supplier, so they can access them in a secure place without even needing a Google App subscription. So this is all built and hosted on the Google infrastructure. You can see there, if I decided to import any of my documents, all those documents that we've converted to Google format are immediately available to me. Just click Save. I'm able to create a website as easy as using a word processor, and if I wanted to, I could delete that straight away as well. None of this has required a phone call to IT or consume any of their resources. We don't need our own servers or infrastructures. We can provision and get rid of those as quickly as I created those. And just to give you in good old-fashioned Blue Peter manner, here's a site that we've created earlier. So you can see that, of course, we've embedded a calendar into this particular site. We've also linked to a Google video that's available in our internal Google Video network. Perhaps some recent announcements or files that I've uploaded. So perfectly suited to a project site, perfectly suited to a customer site or an intranet. And of course, you've got various different kinds of pages that you can actually design, whether it's a file storage area or that you want to perhaps embed some of your content directly into a page. So here we've got a Google document embedded directly into a page, or making announcements. And very quickly just say, we're going to post a new announcement and call it welcome to our webinar, and just save that off. And that's almost like microblogging in itself, announcing information internally, and you can see that it's now on our recent announcements page there as well. So the type of thing an end user will be very comfortable in creating and producing themselves. And that is an overview of a very high-level view of the Google suite of products, and how we help companies to evaluate this. Of course, having the initial discussions, it allows you to figure out that there are some significant savings, cost reductions, and elimination of hassle by moving your email infrastructure into the cloud. And of course, that other applications will be discovered by users. Very viral in its nature. So, it's driven by the cost savings and the better email experience, and then all the other applications, really users start to discover and share content and collaborate in ways that the business never even imagined in the past. So to evaluate some of that technology, Google recommends what they call a dual delivery email pilot. And the concept here is, of course, we're not going to break your existing email infrastructure. It continues to operate in the normal manner. Emails flow into your existing system. However, we're able to set up Google apps in the background, so a copy of all your inbound emails for the pilot user are also delivered to the Google Apps email service as well. That allows a user to send and receive email from Google Apps, test all the various different applications without breaking the existing email infrastructure. And that's a simple 30-day trial. At the end of that 30-day trial, you're able to decide whether it's worth switching that on for a select group of users or whether you want to roll that out to all users in your organization and migrate your business over to the Google infrastructure. Now, I believe we're right up to our deadline. We've got 3 or 4 minutes just to cover a couple of questions that have been asked. Let's just cover these. How do you migrate your data? And of course, any business moving to the Google Apps Suite will want to bring with them their legacy email, calendar, and contact data. Our preferred strategy would be to migrate that from your existing server to the Google Apps system. Google provides a range of tools that allow you to do server-to-server migrations from any kind of email server, Microsoft Exchange or Lotus Notes, and copy that data over to populate your Google Apps mailbox. So when you log in, you get a very, very superior experience rather than logging into an empty mailbox. There are some desktop tools as well that allow you to migrate desktop. Unfortunately, a lot of users have been forced by their IT department to archive emails because of their limited quota on their mail servers, so they end up with offline PSTs, which may or may not be backed up by the organization. But there are also some desktop tools that allow you to upload data from your archived PST files. Another question here about the document storage limit. Is it possible to increase the storage from more than 1 gigabyte on Google Docs? The answer to that is yes, just like the consumer product. Of course, if you're using an internal server that's got 80 gigabytes of business data, Word files, Excel files, historical files, you're unable to move that into 1 gigabyte of Google Documents. Of course, the recommended best approach would be to have a dedicated account for sharing and migrate your data. You can buy up to 16 terabytes of additional storage in Google Docs. So you're not limited to the 1 gigabyte. That's just the available storage in the annual subscription of £33. There are additional charges. To give you a flavor, it's $5 per annum for an additional 20 gigabytes. So super low cost. And probably got a chance to answer one more question. Are you able to do multi-user video conferencing in Google Talk? In the current version of Google Talk, the answer is no. However, you heard Johan refer to the fact that Google Plus will be coming to Google Apps accounts in a matter of days and weeks. And there's a feature, an extremely powerful feature in Google Plus called Hangouts. And you can play with this in your Gmail consumer account if you wish to. But I think it's more appropriate in a business sense. You'll be able to create what they call a Hangout. It's a virtual room where multiple attendees will be able to join by video conferencing. And also you'll be able to do desktop sharing and project a Google document. So very powerful for online meetings and collaborating in groups. You'll be able to see multiple people and work on the same document at the same time as well. So coming very, very soon to Google Apps is Google Plus. So there are some other questions that we will answer via email to the individuals that have asked those questions. We're now up to our deadline of 16 minutes. So it remains for me to thank you very, very much for sharing your time during this webinar this morning. We hope you will contemplate this take-home message to make your staff more productive, reduce your IT cost, and collaborate in new ways with Google Apps. Thank you very much for joining the webinar. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.